Welcome to the Julie Chan Show, where passion meets purpose. Today, I am joined by Pamela Gail Johnson, who wrote the book Practical Happiness and who created and is a founder of the Society of Happy People. Pamela, it's so good to be with you. You must be one happy person. Were you born happy?
Well, genetically, some are born a little happier than others. So I probably have a little bit of a genetic advantage, I guess, if you will. But like everyone, I experience my fair share of happiness zappers. You know, they're there for everyone's amusement.
Yeah. Amusement. That's such a kind way to put it. If you can see it as amusement, right? In the moment.
Well, a lot of them are. In the book, my book, Practical Happiness, the second principle is based on happiness zappers are manageable, and we divide them into 5 types of zappers. So we do have what I call legitimate unhappiness, which would certainly not usually be anywhere near amusement. But the other 4 can be a little bit more ebb and flowing because they're a little more temporary, whereas unhappiness usually deals with a loss. So it just requires longer to work through. So you may have moments that are growth and learning, but you also usually have moments that are painful, and not just losses and death. We obviously that's the height of unhappiness and death and grief, but you might have a job change that you didn't want. You might go through a health change, maybe a relationship change like a divorce or separation, or just an estrangement with somebody you thought was a best friend forever, or somebody in your family. So there's a lot of different types of kind of what I call unhappiness, things that we probably didn't wake up and go, oh, I'm so excited this is going to happen. I mean,
right.
That's sometimes not what that is. And so there's like a whole grieving process. So it's kind of, an ebb flow. You have days you want to hide under the covers, then you have days you think you're doing better, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere you just feel this immense sadness. And so that's, like I said, that's unhappiness. And so yes, of course, everybody is going to experience some degree of unhappiness,
right?
But the other 4 are a little bit more quick to navigate.
So when we're talking about your passion and your purpose, before you founded the Society of Happy People in 1998, what were you doing up until that point?
Well, I was actually working in the self-help field at the time, and it was what I kind of call the height of the self-help era. It was, Oprah Winfrey had her, king talk shows that focused a lot on personal development at the time. But there was, self-help radio. You had Jerry Springer, who kind of made a parody out of self-help. You had seminars and workshops, and not that we don't have those now, but the infomercials. It was all
kind of new.
It was new, and it was just like 24/7. It was 24/7 of let's heal your inner child and make you feel better. And so kind of for kicks, I was thinking, well, we're all the happy people, because I'm kind of thinking, if you're going through all this, self-reflection, self-awareness, self-help, we should be having a lot of happy people. And I really wasn't seeing it. And I was in the field, so I know I was in a field that had a lot of unhappiness, but I'm still just not seeing it. So for kicks, I said, where are they? And I said, oh, I bet they have their own club and they don't tell anybody about it. And initially we were called the Secret Society of Happy People. We've since dropped the word secret because we've been around 20 plus years. So we're not really a secret anymore, but so we became the Society of Happy People. And it was just really about celebrating being happy when you happen to be happy. Like, I've never believed that one should pretend to be happy. If you're not happy, you need to you have to own it so you can manage it. If you don't acknowledge it and own it, it manages you.
Right. So, and you can't get to the happy place if you don't even acknowledge that you're not happy, right?
Exactly. If you can't acknowledge, some things that are literally unhappiness to the things that are like what I call stress, fear, chaos, and annoyances. If you can't acknowledge when those things are happening, again, they sort of control you. Or if you just say, well, I'm just going to be happy, I'm just going to choose to be happy, But let's say you're in a stressful situation doing caretaking. Let's say you're doing caretaking for somebody, a friend or a family member, and that's creating stress, and you don't acknowledge it. It doesn't mean you quit the caretaking. It doesn't mean you walk away from it. It just means that you acknowledge that is stressful, and then you try to put in systems that will help you manage that better. So it may be asking somebody else for a little bit of help occasionally, or giving yourself permission to say, oh, wait a minute, they can be by themselves for 3 hours while I go watch a movie.
Yeah.
Or go have
Or
dinner.
maybe it's shifting your mindset about what you're not seeing as the glass half full, right?
Exactly.
Getting back to the Society of Happy People, which I love the name of it, I love the premise of it, but how did you find your first members?
Well, my first members were people that I probably knew, and I coerced into happily joining. So, what you call your friends and family network. But at the time, I was traveling a lot because I was working for the Hazelden Foundation. And so I was out in the field a lot. So I did a lot of mental health conferences, and I would just leave flyers out at different places. And our initial tagline was, are you happier than you admit you are? And again, by admit, I mean, are you happier than what you're talking about? If you're happy with like half your life, shouldn't it get half your conversation? And because again, the social dialogue at the time wasn't really there. A lot of times it wasn't just getting that much of our conversations. So our birthday is officially what I call August 8th, because that is the day that I actually received. And at the time you got like a lapel pin and a t-shirt and a bumper sticker and then a quarterly paper newsletter that was mailed to your house. It was sort of the membership packet. So I got my first official member. I wish I remembered their name at this point, but they were from Wichita, Kansas. No, not Wichita, Kansas. They were Lawrence, Kansas, I think. And that arrived in the mail on August 8th. So it's like the first person who I didn't know who it was who wrote me a check so I made that the society's actual birthday, which then the next year became our first official happiness holiday it's now Happiness Happens Day. So we'll be celebrating the 24th Happiness Happens Day, I think, this year.
And what happens on that day?
Well, the day's still important, but the first year people wrote and said, I can't celebrate on August 8th. So the following year, we just expanded it to Happiness Happens Month, so people could celebrate any day they wanted to. So this year, with the book out and stuff, we'll probably be doing something. Every year has a theme. So this year's theme will probably be about the 31 types of happiness. So the fourth principle of the book, which is happiness is bigger than you think. We just finished the third holiday that we started called Hunt for Happiness Week. And we were making that all about managing your happiness zappers. So we were telling people to hunt for their zap. And I'm telling your listeners this too now, because this can be done for the whole year. We're trying to give you a magical zapper wand. So when happiness zappers show up, you can just sort of zap them and say, go away, go away. So we're just kind of making it fun. But, other wands might include, like I have a variety of wands. So the Harry Potter wand.
That's so great.
Or even something as simple as a stick.
Over the years, what have you found to be one of the biggest happiness zappers?
Well, I think obviously unhappinesses and grief and loss. So like, for example, we've gone through the pandemic, we're hitting into year 2. So it's global. So the whole world has had a change of life, a change of what is normal now. So we've all experienced that loss, which would create an unhappiness, which is also now reflected in the studies showing an increase in depression and anxiety and those things that people are dealing with. And that's because, again, we're globally dealing with it, but yet since happiness is personal, if you will, we're all globally dealing with it in our own way. So we have a lot of different opinions on how one should be managing this particular happiness zapper.
Yeah.
And so it's a very, but again, that's like a really big one. However, prior to the pandemic, studies were already showing that Americans were becoming more unhappy than they'd been in 50 years. So we were already sort of in a unhappiness downturn, if you will. And the pandemic, since it put people in a sort of a state of isolation to some degree, even if you've got people in your home, we really moved to a great, they call it the great resignation on the career front, but really it's the great reevaluation. People are sitting around and they're kind of thinking, what is important to me? What does make me happy? What do I keep wanting to do? And part of that's maybe returning to the way life was on some fronts. But I remember somebody who gets our newsletter who wrote me back early in the probably like we were probably 90 days, so in the biggest part of the isolation phase. And she was like, I just started realizing how much stuff I didn't enjoy. And that my husband and I have really discovered we enjoy each other's company a lot. So it hasn't really been that difficult for me. Now I don't know.
So beautiful.
I don't know if 2 years into it, it's still the same, but there's a lot of studies that are showing people are reevaluating friendships that they had, because maybe they were realizing like, oh, am I hanging out with people who are, raising my vibe, elevating me, making me a better person, or am I hanging out with people who are, decreasing those things, or drains, or little energy drains. And so we're reevaluating a lot of things. And so I think if we had to say like currently what is our biggest happiness zapper, I think it's us trying to figure out what we want our lives to look like as we're moving through this transition.
Yeah, right. And really noticing what does make us happy and what lights us up versus what dims that light.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times we were just in the habit of doing stuff because it was expected to us, maybe family wise or friend wise. We got in that habit. And when this happened, those habits all got interrupted. So even the ones we liked got interrupted, but maybe also some of them that we were just doing because they were habits got interrupted too. And this has given us time to, again, it wasn't planned. We didn't really want it, but it's giving us time for us to really reevaluate and think, oh, what is it that I'm wanting my life to move,
look like and feel like?
It really is the great reevaluation over everything. Like I said, to work, to probably whatever social activities we're doing.
In the Society of Happy People, what does it look like? If somebody wants to join, do you meet once a month? Do you meet by Zoom? Do you share happiness stories?
Well, over the years, we've had various different types of memberships. And then we've had no membership some years. So the biggest thing we try to encourage our members or our people connected to us, regardless of which platform or if we have their email address, it is to celebrate the 3 holidays and to have fun with those. So like we just finished with Hunt for Happiness Week. So people were posting their wands. This is one of my favorites, although I've really enjoyed my lightsaber, I have to say. So we encourage people to go and find those. And they were like, it makes me feel a little bit more powerful to manage my zappers. And that was just the intent. It was just to raise your vibe, because every time you can just
notice
a bit better, it helps you to manage happiness zappers and to enjoy the happy more. I mean, it helps you on both fronts. So we ask people to do, like I said, whatever we're doing. We usually have a different theme every year for Happiness Happens Month and Day, and just join in those things. But we did just add new membership packets, and one has a monthly Zoom meeting included, and one has a quarterly Zoom meeting included. So if people want to do one of the paid memberships, they can do that, and we're going to be adding that Zoom connection so that people can meet up, and of course we have social media that people connect on, and just different things. So we're, like I said, we're 20 something years old, so we obviously evolve and change and do different things. But the best way to stay in touch is to get our newsletter, SOHP Weekly, so that we just kind of keep you up to date on happiness happenings, and have fun and share happiness news, and just a whole bunch of different things, kind of, again, whatever strikes my mood at the day I'm writing the newsletter, in all honesty.
So when you were writing this book, Practical Happiness, what did you learn about, what makes you happy, and what was the one piece of advice that you gave in the book that you either practice often or that came to you because of writing the book?
Well, I think the four principles have always been the foundation of what the society was always about. It was about celebrating happiness when it happens. But I think as far as when I was really putting it together, and this is just because I'm older now, chronologically, and hopefully a little wiser than when I started the society, the one that really resonated with me, and it's kind of like one of the duh ones, but at the same time, when you start looking at it, and in the book, we show all the principles with people's stories. So we really bring those principles to life. But it's the third principle: happiness changes as you change. So I think there's times in our life we think the same things are going to always forever make us happy. And as we go through life, our life changes, and therefore the things that make us happy change. And it doesn't mean you weren't happy doing what you were doing. You were thrilled to do that. Like, you just, before the interview started, you said you lived in the DC area, and now you're back in California. So I'm assuming California, where you grew up, is a place that makes you happy.
Actually, I love the East Coast. New England makes me super happy.
Well, then see, eventually you may decide to come back to the East Coast.
Yes, it lights me up every time I'm there.
Yeah. I'm staying in the DC area right now, and I've never been where there's been like 4 seasons, and I love the seasons.
Yeah.
I'm from Texas, and I lived in Florida a long time, and but they don't have the same kinds of seasons. But yeah, our happiness changes, as we change, and it may even change based on our needs. So, we may need to live in a certain area to be close to family, or we may, or we're living there because of a job, or just any variety of reasons.
Right.
But yeah, I think the biggest one, like I said, is happiness changes as you change, because we can look back and sort of think on it, but we have some activities in the book that really let you think about it, and you think, oh wow, it's really true. So for me, that one is in writing the book. Now, the one that like just still every day is the fourth principle, which is happiness is bigger than you think, and we have the 31 types of happiness. And so I always think that one's just an evergreen, always changing piece of again who you are, because it's sort of building on the other principle. But we really do have a lot of happiness around us that we sometimes just completely take for granted. We just don't even recognize it.
It goes hand in hand, I think, with gratitude, right? When we choose to notice what we're grateful for, just like when we choose to be happy and to see all the things that do bring us happiness, there is so much. But we're a society that tends to sort of focus on the downers in life, and we kind of get community out of talking about the hardships, right? And we forget to talk about what makes us happy and what lights us up, because we don't want to be misperceived as maybe bragging or shining too much.
I think that's true, but I also think sometimes happiness is literally just those moments we feel a little bit better. Like if you're going through a big happiness zapping experience, let's say you're taking care of somebody that's in the hospital.
Yeah.
And healthcare right now is definitely chaotic.
Yeah.
So you're doing that, and you come home, and you can even look around and know you have a blessed life, and try to feel the gratitude. But some days you're just not, because you're just spent. You're so exhausted. You're just crying before you can get to bed and trying to get through the next day, because you're just in that little window of time.
Yeah.
And so you may not be feeling as much happiness, but maybe you found, and maybe you're not even feeling gratitude, which again, scientifically, if we can actually feel it, not just know it in our head, but feel it, it releases all those feel good endorphins, and it makes us happier.
Right.
But my challenge is, maybe you found just a tiny bit of relief. So you got to sit down in the quiet. Excuse me, sorry. Maybe you found a tiny bit of relief, and that's happiness.
Yeah.
It's maybe not big happiness, but it's a little bit of happiness.
Right.
So relief is a type. Another one is amused. Amused is a type of happiness. So actually, if you want to find out the 31 types of happiness, I have a gift for everybody listening. If you go to sohp.com/gift,
Okay.
you can download our 31 types of happiness counter and just take 15 minutes and go see how many of those you experienced.
That's so great. I love that.
And then in the book, they're all told by stories. I apologize.
And I got the book right here, Practical Happiness. It's kind of difficult. There it is. Yeah. So great.
Different types of happiness, we do tell stories.
Yeah.
People share their stories about those. So those are ways for you to see those types of happiness in action.
Definitely. So great. I love that you created an entire happiness society and just have chosen to follow your own passion of really bringing to the forefront happiness, and that we can focus on happiness more and more. And it's a good thing, and it raises our vibration. It was so good to be with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. And I so appreciate you working with me through my tech.
Absolutely. Pamela, so good to be with you.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone for watching The Julie Chan Show, where passion meets purpose.
This broadcast is brought to you by WINJECT Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.